Hi, my name's Tim Andrews. I'm the Executive Director of the Australian Taxpayers Alliance. We're Australia's only advocacy group standing up for the interests of taxpayers against all the special interest groups who want our money. Now, Australia abounds with natural resources. We have some of the richest resources of any country in the world, yet we also have the world's highest prices for electricity. I don't think people in Canberra realise how serious this is. The fact that so many families are struggling under crippling power bills, so many businesses are starting to go under because they can't afford the cost of electricity. The people in Canberra might be able to afford all of these increases in prices, but most of us can't. Almost every day I hear stories of people who can't afford heating, cooling. I've been hearing stories of people who can't even afford to keep their refrigerator on. That's how bad prices are. And that's just for individuals. Think about for businesses. Think if you're running a small business, if you're running a cafe or a restaurant, and you have razor thin margins, what happens when the cost of electricity goes up 10%, 20%, 30%? When you've got a walk-in cool room, for instance. Or let's say you require refrigeration as a larger business. Or if you're a manufacturing plant. This is why businesses are starting to go under, why people are losing their jobs, and why our economy is in serious threat. And we should be outraged about this. We should be outraged that people in Canberra don't realise exactly how bad the problem is. We should be outraged at just how morally bankrupt it is that we have some of the highest power prices in the world, while the people who can afford it in Canberra do nothing more than virtually signal. Now, the problem is that Turnbull's National Electricity Guarantee won't solve the problem. In fact, it'll make the problem worse. Now, Turnbull said that he was looking at some concessions the last weekend. Rather than use legislation to mandate emissions targets, he'll use regulation. But this is even worse. Why? Because what it means is that if Labor wins the next election, they can just double emissions targets at the stroke of a pen. It won't even have to go to Parliament for a vote. And there's little in the plan to do what's needed to increase investment and to lower prices. So again, we should be outraged because this plan isn't just bad economics, and it certainly is bad economics. It's morally bankrupt as to how it'll hurt the vulnerable. This is little more than a carbon tax by stealth, and will sound the death knell for so many sectors in the Australian economy, as well as hurting hundreds of thousands of struggling Australian families. This is why the Australian Taxpayers Alliance is launching the Cheap Energy Target campaign. It's a realistic, sensible, pragmatic 9-point plan that is guaranteed to reduce our power cost. This plan includes things like providing certainty for gas and coal investment through regulatory compensation. For example, at the moment, one of the key driving points of high cost is the fact that there's regulatory uncertainty. People don't know what will happen after the next election. This will change that by locking in compensation if regulation will erode profits. We have a compromise on the Paris mandate that should please everyone. Now, we've been working with one of Australia's leading behavioural economist academics to develop a system where if you want to pay to contribute to Australia reducing emissions, you're encouraged to do so. And there'll be incentives and structures made to help you do that. But instead of the government mandating it on everyone and on those who can't afford it, we propose a lean, efficient system based on the principles of individual choice, personal responsibility, and using the cutting-edge behavioural economics. We want to treat all energy as equal and abolish corporate welfare to green energy. And the funds saved on this corporate welfare can then be redirected to providing rebates for those who need it until our power market stabilises. We want to unleash Australia's natural resources. The United States has had an energy revolution in recent years, slashing prices through unleashing innovative new technologies. We want to encourage this. And as part of this, we want to reform our royalty system so that landowners and farmers are properly compensated for the resources under their land, rather than big business and big government taking the money literally from right under them. Our plan includes ways to end gold plating, ways to boost competition, how the federal government can use the GST to incentivize states to improve their policies, because it's unfair that some states have terrible policies and are free riding off others. So one state has a bad policy, but another state has to foot the bill. To learn more about our plan, visit www.cheapenergytarget.com.au. You can download our report. It's 50 pages and quite a long read, but it's worth it. You can just look at our summary of our points there. Or, most importantly, you can use our campaign portal to contact all coalition members of Parliament and demand that they support a real plan rather than the failure of the National Electricity Guarantee. What's been proposed isn't good enough, because this isn't an economic issue. This isn't an abstract academic issue. This is a real issue that affects people, and it's a moral issue. Get outraged at the failure of leadership in Canberra, read up about our plan, contact our elected representatives, and share this with all your friends. Thank you.